Hello friends and welcome back. So today we are going to be talking about something a little bit controversial as I do my makeup to go into filming another video. I know I've been away for a while, but I wanted to hop into today's case kind of lightheartedly. It's not a lighthearted situation at all, that's not what I'm saying, but it's less complicated than other cases, and it's more so talking about your opinions and what you think of the case, because it is quite an old case, and I'm sure a lot of you already know what it is about if you've seen the title. So without further ado, let's just hop into it, and I really want to know your opinion on it, because I'm on the fence about this one, like really on the fence about it. So this case actually starts off in 1987, and it talks about a 23-year-old man named Kenneth Parks, and he was from Toronto, but I believe they were living in Pickering, and the crime itself took place in Scarborough. Now, if you're not from Canada, you might not know this, but a lot of weird things have happened in Scarborough. Scarborough is not, no offense to my Scarbs out there, but you know what I mean? It's just not, some funky stuff has happened out there. I'm sorry, but I spoke about this in a conversations class at school with my students, and I had a lot of mixed opinions from them too, and I just want to put that out there, but teenagers have like the best opinions on this stuff, and a lot of my own opinions changed when they told me what they thought about it. So let's just back up a little bit here. So early on the morning of May 24th, May 24, 1987, Kenneth Parks drove 20 kilometers from Pickering, Ontario, to the house of his in-laws in Scarborough, Ontario. He went into his in-laws' house using the spare key that they had given him, went upstairs and brutally bludgeoned his mother-in-law to death with a tire iron, and then attempted to choke his father-in-law, but he survived, and then he continuously stabbed the mother-in-law with the kitchen knife, which I'm not quite sure if he brought the kitchen knife along or if he found it at the house, but either way, then after he did this, he went into his car again and drove to the police station and admitted that he may have done something. And the strangest part is, he was not put in jail. He was not imprisoned at all. He suffered no consequences. And how did he do this, you might ask? Well, he didn't go to jail because he took the sleepwalking defense. Now, I know what you might be thinking. What? Even if you're sleepwalking and you commit a crime, you're still committing the crime, no? That's what I was thinking. And then I was speaking to my students about this, and we had a whole conversation about this particular case, which, interestingly enough, teenage students can really, their mind starts working a little bit when you start talking about really interesting things, and they got really into this case. I mean, they started coming up with all kinds of scenarios and situations and different theories, and they were, debating with each other, which really surprised me, because usually I can't get them to talk at all, but this case really makes people talk. So without getting too much into the details of the murder itself, because I kind of want to go into that as we speak about this, but basically he arrived at the police station with tendons in his hands all cut, and he was bleeding really badly, and he had severe bleeding. which kind of told the police officers on duty at the time that he was not lying about not being conscious when he committed the crime. Because surely if you are conscious and, you know, your brain's working normally, if you grab a knife from, you know, maybe not the handle part, but the actual blade itself and cut yourself, you might, you know, feel pain. So they were kind of arguing afterwards that he was telling the truth, and in some ways he was, because he did mention that, and this was totally backed up by the way, that he had a very long history of sleepwalking. I mean, ever since he was a kid, and he suffered with parasomnia, like all that sleepwalking, somnambulism, somnambulism. I don't know how to pronounce it, but you know what I mean. He had a record of, you know, having issues with sleepwalking. So there was a paper trail, and they were able to prove that yes, it's not just like he got up one day and decided, hey, I'm gonna sleepwalk. Like, he had a history of it, so it's not just a one-time kind of deal. I researched a lot about it, and sleepwalking actually occurs mostly in younger boys, but occasionally adults can experience it just as much, if not more, and it's usually brought up by stress-induced, or, you know, anxiety, panic, things like that, and that could kind of bring it up even in adulthood. So his only defense was that he was asleep during the entire incident, and that he was not aware what he was doing. So technically, if you're not conscious and you're not aware of what you're doing, does that mean that there is, like, you know, like how first degree murder is plotted, or how second degree or defense is, you know, like something reactive, like, you know, you're defending yourself against an attack, and so you're consciously making that decision to attack the person, or you're thinking about it and then you go and attack them. But in this case, he was not conscious, so they had no case against him. He was asleep. Or was he? Now, this is the part that really gets me going, that really I want your opinion on, because the anxiety and the stress that is needed for him to experience sleepwalking comes into play here. You see, Kenneth had a very, very troubled past with gambling, and at the time he was really, really, really into debt. He had embezzled money from his company, something like $30,000. He was into horse track races, like horse track gambling. I don't know how you call it, like the racetracks. And he was super, super into debt, and he had a lot of anxiety because of this. Also, because it was May 24th, and I don't know if any Canadians out there, but May 24, big bonfires, camping, barbecues, the whole shebang. The next day, they were actually planning on going to the in-laws, so his wife's mother and father, and you know, I think because it was already in his mind that he had to go there, that he was, you know, more inclined to go there subconsciously somehow. Psychologically, it takes a lot to, like, really get into this guy's mind, because when he went there, at the time, his wife's two teenage sisters, I believe they were in the house, and they heard the struggle. They heard everything behind the closed doors. They were kind of freaking out about it, and they heard him grumbling, like grunting like an animal, like heavy grunting, and they were really scared. They didn't know it was him, but they heard, the commotion, they heard all of it, and they were kind of just panicking behind closed doors. And when he finished his whatever it is that he was doing, he was grunting right outside their door, and they thought he'd come in and, attack them next. But he didn't. He just left. And the strangest thing is that they found the mother-in-law not in the bedroom, but kind of a ways from the bedroom. I believe it was in another room or in the hallway, not in the bedroom itself. Like, they were both sleeping on the bed, but they found her body in another room that was not the bedroom. So he was following her and stabbing her, or dragged her into another room. This obviously can't be confirmed because he was, unconscious when he did it. And the father-in-law was also stabbed and, in critical condition on the other side of the bed, so he did not see what was happening with Kenneth as he was, doing whatever he was doing with the mom. But what psychologists are confused about is why he would continuously stab her in this, episode that he was experiencing, as she was crawling away or yelling, because I assume if you're being stabbed, you're screaming, you're yelling, and I think someone would wake up from that. So what psychologists afterwards were, kind of on the fence about was he totally unconscious when he was doing this, or was he kind of wandering in and out of consciousness? Was he wandering in and out of, sleepwalking? Because as he was murdering that poor woman, he had grabbed the wrong end of the knife as well and hurt himself. So I assume if she was screaming and he couldn't hear her, as well as he was cutting himself and he didn't feel it, that he was actually totally, unconscious. But then this is what really is just iffy. He drove, how much was it? He drove 20 kilometers. 20 kilometers. He got into his car, engine on, hands on the steering wheel, and he drove 20 kilometers from Pickering to Scarborough. That takes some effort, and I know that there are a lot of cases of sleepwalking or sleep driving, or just sleepwalkers being able to drive. There's even a case of a sleepwalker attempting to fly a plane, so I'm not saying that it's not possible, but it took a lot of effort for this all to happen. Was he going in and out of consciousness? And also, why are there no repercussions for the whole thing is just bizarre. It's bizarre to me because you're driving, you're not conscious. Okay, why is that different than someone drinking and driving? I mean, you're drinking and so you're in and out of consciousness, you're not fully there. And you're sleepwalking and you're in and out of consciousness or totally unconscious. And you're putting not only yourself but other drivers at risk. If you're driving, I understand that if you drink, it's like you're choosing to drink, and if you're sleepwalking, you're not choosing to sleepwalk, but still there should be some kind of repercussion for that, or at least if you know that you are a sleepwalker, you've got a record of it. You've got a paper trail of it. You know that you've been stressed a lot. You know that you might have an episode any day now. Wouldn't you take precautions around your house, or lock your doors, or install some kind of system that allows, someone in your household to wake up and wake you up if you are sleepwalking? Because, by the way, I did research this, and it's a total myth that if you wake a sleepwalker up, they'll like go crazy. They'll just kind of be shocked a little bit and then just continue on with, you can just explain to them, hey, you were sleepwalking, and then they'll go back to bed. But it's a total myth that they'll freak out and like flip out on you. So I think it's just better safe than sorry. Wake a sleepwalker up if you've got one in your household, by the way. But anyway, since there was a reason for him to go the next day, they kind of figured in his subconscious he had to, it was like he had to go, or he was going to, barbecue or whatever. But then one of my students brought this up. Okay, if you're a sleepwalker and you have this tendency to like wake up and take your car, drive to work, wake up, take your car, drive to work, or you have like this thing in your head where the next day there's a barbecue, and so you wake up, get in your car, and go to the barbecue. You might start a barbecue, you might light a fire, you might grab stuff out of the fridge and start prepping, to cook a barbecue. You wouldn't stab your in-laws. Do you know what I mean? Like, is that a subconscious thought he had always had? Did he subconsciously hate his mother and father-in-law, and that's why he murdered them, but not the teenage sisters? Do you know what I mean? Surely you must have had some kind of bad or evil thought cross your mind at some point to be able to go through with something like that. I don't know. I have a lot of questions about this case. A lot of questions about it. And I just don't really know. I don't really know what to think about it, because I want to think, okay, here's this guy, and poor him. He just had a really unlucky, tough time of it, and, accidentally did what he did. But then I'm also thinking, subconsciously, you must have thought something evil of your in-laws, right? Right? I don't know. In the articles that I read, it did say that he was planning on telling his in-laws about his gambling problem and the debt that he had acquired on the day of the barbecue, so on May 24th. So maybe it was like a psychological thing that he may have thought they wouldn't have given him their full support, and so he subconsciously was, overthinking it, and maybe he was really angry that they hadn't given him their full support. Like when you overthink scenarios and then they end up not happening, but your mind is already overly anxious, and you overthink about what if they do that, and what if they do that, and maybe, just maybe, I'm not trying to justify him, but I'm trying to get under, like, in his head, maybe he was thinking that they would, not be very supportive of him, and so he was already, like, kind of anticipating being angry. So maybe that's why he was angry, because in all of the articles that I read, Barbara Ann Woods, which is the woman he murdered, so his mother-in-law, referred to him as her gentle giant. And I don't know, he had a 5-month-old daughter, so I don't know. Oh, it also says that to cover his losses, he took funds from his family's savings and began to embezzle at work. I said that, but I don't know. Maybe since he was planning to tell his mother and father-in-law, and just come clean with the fact that he was, stealing from the savings, the family savings. Maybe he thought they'd be angry, so he anticipated being angry back. I'm not quite sure. Honestly, I'm not a psychologist and I'm not pretending to be, but I just found this case so incredibly fascinating and I really want to hear your opinion about it. So let me know what you think about all of this. I'm sorry that the look itself isn't, wow, anything super out there or crazy, but I have to film a very subtle role play and I have to go for a more natural look. So this is kind of the routine I do when I want to do something more natural. I put on a very light, a silicone primer. I put on my favorite Revolution, where is it? Oh, here. Revolution Conceal and Define Full Coverage Foundation, just a couple of dabs, because you can really sheer it out if you buff it into the skin a lot. Then I used my Revolution Makeup Conceal and Define. It's just the concealer version of the foundation, and just under the eye bag area, and some liner, some blush, and to set it all in, the Ciate London that I got in the FabFitFun box from a year and a half ago. And I still have I don't use very much makeup on my day-to-day. I really need to stop acquiring more if I have so much already. But anyway, that's it, you guys. I'm just gonna end it here because I gotta film a whole bunch of stuff. Yes, I changed my hair, but it's going to be going a little bit more muted. A muted red tone in maybe tomorrow. Maybe the next day. I don't know. Maybe I'll keep it for a day or two extra. Who knows? Sorry about that. My microphone cut off randomly, so I'm not quite sure when it stopped recording. So hopefully it didn't cut off too much of what I said, but you might be hearing the microphone from the camera itself at one point. Ugh, I'm so sorry. I did not know that the battery was going. Anyway, hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. It helps me out so much. I think I'm not quite sure anymore because YouTube will be doing random things now and it's all over the place, so I don't even know where I am half the time, and I don't know what it's doing, and I don't know anything. So thank you guys so very much for watching, and I don't know, let's have a conversation in the comment section below. What did you think about this case? I want to know all of your opinions because my mind, I'm kind of on the fence about this one because I want to feel like he didn't do it on purpose because he was not conscious at the time, but also you still murdered someone, so you're still guilty. You're still guilty if you're not conscious, right? I mean, if someone was taking drugs or hallucinogens and accidentally murdered someone, they'd still be guilty. So why is it different for a sleepwalker? I want to know what you guys think. Am I overthinking it? I don't know. I feel like it's a very controversial topic and I just want to know your opinions. So let's have a conversation down below, and I can't wait to respond to all of you guys because this really boggles my brain. Also, if you guys have any more suggestions for future videos, be sure to comment them down below or send them to me over on Instagram or Twitter, because I know you guys keep sending me lots and lots of cases, but I don't want to cover cases that have been recently covered by other true crime YouTube channels, because I feel like I don't want to be, I don't know how to explain it. I want everyone to have their chance to shine and to have their video have the limelight and the spotlight, and you know, in a couple of months, maybe I'll cover it and put my opinion on it, but I kind of just, I don't want to cover things that are too recently covered, that have been recently covered by someone else, if that makes any sense. So if you know of any cases that are not very much covered, or that you would personally like to hear more about that you haven't seen anyone else done before, let me know and I'll be sure to give it a look, okay? Thank you guys so much for sending me messages always. I love researching all of the different articles that you guys send me, especially you guys over on Twitter who DM me all the time, and also Instagram. Thank you so much for sending me all of your requests. I go over each of the cases, but then I'm like, okay, this one deserves, you know, like an hour of my, you know, recording, or just an hour long video. And that would probably be 3 hours of me recording. And can I do my makeup? Can I make it last 3 hours? Because I'm usually like, boom, 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 okay, out the door. So let me know. I'm probably overthinking it, as always. Anxiety. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.